We're here in our new podcast studio, but the cameras and microphones haven't been installed yet, but I've decided to do this emergency transmission here from the new podcast room with our news director, Rob Dew, who's up here helping me, along with Jason, who's also helping me. Okay, we know that the Islamicist operations have struck Germany and struck France and struck the Netherlands and struck Sweden in past Christmases. And we know that ISIS and Al-Qaeda, that have been crushed by U.S. and Russian forces, have promised to strike the United States before, during, and after Christmas in 2017. So we're here now. We have seen multiple attacks and multiple foiled attacks just in the last 48 hours. A new attack just happened a few hours ago in Pennsylvania. But what's amazing, before I cover these attacks, is corporate establishment media has been saying these aren't Islamic attacks in most cases, and has been trying to cover it up, just like all the racist black groups that have been doing knockout games, beating and killing white people. I'd be against white groups going around beating and killing black people. Good God, this is just insane racism. So I thought I would just cover the ongoing events. This is out of Fox 43. But I saw other national news. MSNBC just said some guy's in a shootout with the police hours ago. Never said he was screaming Allah Akbar. Harrisburg gunman has ties to Middle East. And of course, he's not from the United States. He recently traveled there. Ahmed Amin El Mafti began shooting at police, shot a state policewoman in her car, shot at other police. They reportedly were able to gun him down just a few hours ago. But most news is saying it has nothing to do with Islam. FBI arrests man for alleged Pier 39 Christmas Day terror plot. He'd been a Marine. He had been converted to Islam. Everett Aaron Jameson's, I guess he's the Irish Islamicist, detailed his plans with an FBI undercover agent. He was also part of Antifa and was planning to attack the pier and shoot and kill, reportedly, as many people as he could to, again, punish them for being Christians. So we've got that information. Then we've got what happened just a day and a half ago in Australia. So it was terrorism. Attacker who rammed car into victims upset at mistreatment of Muslims was from Afghanistan, brought there as a refugee. If you want to stay in your backward hellhole, you cut women's genitals off and throw gays off buildings, that's where you should stay. But he didn't think everything was free enough. And so they took a day and a half to admit that it was indeed an Islamic operation there. So what is the point of this? There are clearly going to be other events in Europe, in the United States, in Australia. This is what the Islamicists do. We have countless videos of them pulling down Christmas trees, running over them. They have to put up all these diversity barriers in Europe, in Germany, other areas, because they'll ram trucks into Christmas parties. This is truly a Grinch-like religion when it's orthodox and engaged in to the letter of the law, where women out wearing miniskirts, you get killed. You're out drinking beer, they have to now, again, make Oktoberfest go indoors, because the Muslims will not put up with it. So you've got tolerant Western systems to the point of political suicide, cultural suicide, letting this in. So the point is, we have plots, we have attacks. When there are attacks, the media bends over backwards to say, oh, it's not an Islamic attack, until they're forced to. But this is part of an ongoing operation, an ongoing plan. And this is something criminal elements of our government, Obama and others, have been engaged in, going in and helping fund radical Islam against more secular or more Western Islam, overthrowing Gaddafi, overthrowing Saddam, overthrowing these governments, and then bringing in the very worst elements. That's been funded by Saudi Arabia. Supposedly, Trump is shutting off that operation, and so far it looks like he's trying. But McMaster, the National Security Advisor, has said he wants to keep U.S. troops in Syria and still wants to topple Assad. That's not what Trump's saying. You've got Trump sending anti-tank missiles, tow missiles, to the Ukrainian government to fight the Russians. I guess because Trump wants to look tough with the Russians, like he's anti-Russia or something. This is, again, all globalist programming trying to get us in fights with each other. Russia isn't the enemy. It's become Christian. It's fighting radical Islam. It's fighting globalism. The enemy is the globalists that are attacking all nation states and all families and all basic prosperity. I want to bring Rob Dew in here. He didn't know he'd be on air today, but he's up here helping me. Again, this is not our professional cameras yet. These are just iPhones, and we are not, again, all hooked up with the cameras we're going to have in here in the next month. This is going to be a more low-key podcast studio where we can just do special reports, have special guests in, be commercial-free for hours. That's where we're going to be doing this here in this new studio. We're going to have fisheye lenses in here, a lot of other room in here, a lot of other stuff. So look for that. I've got some big news. If we talk about this, dealing with Facebook, Twitter, and Google, caught working with not just the communist Chinese, but other authoritarian systems like Pakistan and others to report on people that say they believe in Jesus. They're being arrested and executed, literally, and Facebook, Twitter, and Google are helping. So we're going to look at that. AP exclusive. Digital police state shackles Chinese minority. Suddenly Trump's in. Schmitz had to step down, the head of Google. Suddenly, we're not going to back all these human rights abuses. Suddenly, we're not going to cover up all this stuff. That's AP. Surveillance cams, face cams help China make thousands vanish. USA Today, what suddenly happened? For 9 years, we haven't seen anything like this in mainstream news. Because they want to bring this here.
And let me add, there's a software program that's running in Hong Kong right now that they put out, and they found a bunch of felons. They're finding people, and they're tying it into the camera system. And it's this algorithm that goes and facially recognizes. I think the headline is, they could catalog 2 billion people in one day. Cataloging people running around Hong Kong, and they found a bunch of felons. They found people who hadn't paid their fines for different things.
Sure. It sounds good to get the criminals until you realize the Orwellian.
It's going to be for everybody.
How it's used by communist China that's run by the big party bosses.
Right.
They're the true mass murdering criminals.
And it could be a crime to not think the right way or worship a different religion.
They're catching people that they've seen having private Buddhist ceremonies.
Right.
And then that's how they're rounding up and taking their organs.
Yeah.
So that's the real criminal theft here. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Again, Rob, clearly we're seeing attacks on Christmas. This is what the Islamicists have done in Europe. And just like in Europe, where they make it a crime to report that it was an Islamicist that attacked you, in many areas of Germany, France, you name it, now things have gotten so bad, they've declared an emergency in local towns, fires, rapes, murders, every night, say, please stop, please come help us. And then the EU says, well, we'll bring in an EU army to stop this. So the EU advertises all these military-aged men, Muslims that come in. They come in, they wreak all the raping and burning and pillaging and havoc, which they do in their own countries. Yeah. And the EU's answer is, your government can't help, we'll come in and take over, when it's the EU that did it. I mean, do they think we're that dumb?
Well, I think they think we're that dumb, but they also hide the fact. They like to take these videos. You played one on Tuesday that was pulled off Twitter, it was pulled off of YouTube, and it was the migrant guy walking around in his underwear who punched the 72-year-old.
At first they tell us migrant. He's an invader.
Yeah.
He's an illegal. He's a jihadi.
Sure.
He's a usurper. He's here to take over. But we're to use their word, migrant. Right. He's here, and the guy's in his underwear, and there's an old guy, his back turned, the guy's in critical condition, brain damage. Yeah. Knocks him out, stomps on his head.
Yeah, he starts kicking him, and then...
Well, he deserves it, just like Kate Stanley. Kate Stanley, you can't hang up posters saying she had dreams too, the university agrees. Her death is a good thing, can't talk about it.
Well, I had a guy from Germany send me that. He goes, every time we put it up, YouTube pulls it down. He's like, please get this video out. And then he sent me the accompanying article to it. I'm like, geez, because you look at the video on the article, and it's the aftermath, and you just see some cops milling around. They don't really talk about what happened. But when you see the brutality there, then you're like,
a racist,
what are we doing?
Black Muslim attacks an old German man with his back turned, and then curb stomps his head, and the guy may die, and he's not human. Kate Stanley's not human. He's not human because they're white, they're Western, and the globalists want to train everybody to just submit and give in to persecution, and they're going to use the Islamicists and others as the foot soldiers to begin that process.
Yeah, that's definitely it, and they've started that. They're planning to ramp it up this next year. They're letting the NGOs run all over, ferry people essentially. NGOs are ferrying people across the sea right there.
The Mediterranean.
Yeah, they're just ferrying them back, and nobody's doing anything about it. They're just letting them run carte blanche.
The Democrats have put out a new comic book saying whites are inherently evil. I mean, this is KKK level stuff, because they see the global demographic. Whites are 7% of the world.
Right.
And they think, we can program third world populations. They're primitives. one tribe's killing the next. That's what humans do.
Exactly.
And this is their game, folks. They've done it. And first they got Europe to stand down, be totally accepting, because of our Christian ethos, and they're using that against us. So what do we do, dude?
Well, one, we have to stand up. One, we have to keep talking about it. And two, when, say, what's happening in South Africa where they're kicking people off their land.
Oh, we had guests on, basically Dutch Amish, who went to nowhere, basically desert areas, and built these farms with wells.
Mm-hmm.
They're now the new president of the ANC, the biggest party, about to be that's the same party as Mandela says. We're going to take the farms just like Zimbabwe. Right. We're throwing the whites out. Yeah. Enjoy your billion.
And then what happens is they don't know how to run a farm, so the farm just doesn't produce anything. And then they're actually bringing the farmers back now in some cases, like, please help us. We don't know what we're doing. And then the farmer shows up, and the people who used to work on the farm mob him coming back, like, thank you for coming back. We can eat again. It's crazy stuff that they're showing videos. It's all over Twitter.
And there's something about a primitive tribal culture where, whether it be primitive Mesoamerican or Europeans, were the same 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, they just can't build something. Like you have a cow, everybody kills it.
Yeah.
Now, if you have two cows, you don't wait till they have babies. you understand? If you have a herd, and then everybody can, you just kill the one cow. And that's conquest versus civilization.
And they've had.
And let's just face it, Africa hasn't had civilization.
Right.
And the globalists went in and got rid of an evil apartheid, replaced it with something far worse, communism. Yeah. They killed Gaddafi. His socialism wasn't perfect, but he was helping most of Africa.
Well, they weren't selling people on the streets, and now they're selling literally.
Well, because Gaddafi put 99% of the money into literally jobs and aqueducts and farms, and he turned it green because he really. I mean, that's why they got rid of him.
Well, he said, I want everybody to have a house, and I will not put my parents into a house until every citizen has their own house. Now,
and see, that's the difference if you got a bunch of oil and you're in the desert. He unified the tribes, they worked together, and in his 40-year rule, it literally turned green, incredible. And then he made a deal with the West, believing Obama was his friend, invested the extra money they had, like $100 billion in the EU and the US. They brought in agents, double-crossing, blew the whole thing out, looted it, and it just killed tens of thousands of blacks alone. And again, it's just, wow, Obama did that. He literally set up all of Africa when the only thing holding Africa up was South Africa and Libya at the north.
And what's crazy is...
And that's mainline, folks. Mainline research.
Well, you think of the Star Wars connection here. Tatooine was in Tunisia, right next door. It's where they filmed it. Now that's literally going on in the streets of Libya. They're literally selling people off into slavery, and
it's
also
Muslims selling blacks. But CNN, when they show it, they go, look at this woman being sold, this man. They never say it's Islam.
Right.
Because you can't say, because it's Linda Sorcer, her mother writes a book about cutting women's genitals off, so she leads the women's march, and then pro-lifers show up and they go, oh, you're not welcome.
Right.
It's just, because Islam is purely political. It means nothing. It's just used to oppress.
What we can't do is not talk about this stuff. We have to talk about it more. We have to point it out. When the media is covering it up, we point out the cover up, and we just keep laying our case. And eventually, Tucker Carlson put out 100 tweets last night, and each one was about something that's racist. Milk, white people, religion, the Bible. And he has an accompanying article where they were talking about making a case for this being racist. He's like, look at all the racist stuff in America. And it was one thing after another.
That's right. We should do that too, because exactly. The globalists are attacking any culture they don't control as bad. Yeah. They're just saying milk, Christmas trees, mothers, fathers, it's all gone. Everything's bad. You're all guilty except us that accuse you.
Yeah.
Those of us that accuse you, we need to do stuff like that too.
It's really good.
We should put out I didn't even see it. We should put out our own 100 tweets.
Yeah.
Things that the globalists are trying to overthrow. Because exactly, maybe we should print those and do a whole nother, you want to go print them? And do a whole nother piece on that.
Yeah, we could do that.
Because, folks, I don't bitch and complain about it. You know that. They have gone after our sponsors, our revenue, our funding. They've squeezed us down every platform. But because of you hand-sharing videos, showing to people, 2017, we actually grew some despite all the attacks. But the attacks slow us down from going where we're going. It's you. And we're all in this together, and it's such a huge time to be alive.
It's almost like being stuck in the mud, and instead of moving forward, you're worrying about getting out of the mud instead of moving forward with what we want to do.
Exactly. Our offensives would be much more devastating if they weren't tying us up with everything and blocking us.
Yeah.
But that's why you bypassed them. You bought the products. You spread the links. You prayed for us. It did it. But it's an incredible time to be alive. You know what? We ought to go. Are you in a hurry to go?
No. You want to...
I think we should go, because I didn't even know he did that. But that's the kind of thing I've thought about, and I'm glad Tucker's doing it, because we're not in competition with Tucker. That's a great idea, to hammer them, because that's what I want. That's what we do. We don't just show one article and people go, oh, they're just kind of crazy, they made a mistake, or that's isolated. It's hundreds of times. We should do the same thing. Hundreds of times they said the family was bad. Right. Print 100 articles where they said it. Or hundreds of times they said men are bad. Or hundreds of times they told women that stay home with their kids are bad. Or hundreds of times they said nationalism was bad. Or hundreds of times they covered up for Islam. Or hundreds of times they covered up, where whites were being attacked. And if blacks were being attacked, it was being covered up. But most of that, 100 times the left staged fake attacks on themselves. Yeah. That we should start doing that exact same thing, like a podcast, 100 times.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it'll definitely work. And you just build the case. You build the case, and you make it irrefutable after a while. It's like when you watch Terror Storm, your old film, and you're looking at all the different false flags that have taken place. And then you just keep, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. And then you can see the patterns that develop when you have these things. So when something does happen, you go, well, that doesn't look right. Like the Las Vegas shooting. Still doesn't smell right.
They still haven't, the families are all public, like, no one's given us any answers. Yeah. None of this makes sense. Because it was an Islamic attack by rebel forces in Saudi Arabia over Trump's deal, and the national security decision was made, this will cause too much panic, and people want war with Saudi Arabia. We're already waging a war over there with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They don't want to panic people. But I just say Trump shouldn't have listened to his advisors. He should have been honest about that.
Well, you know what's crazy about the Las Vegas attack? They just released the coroner's report of all the deaths. The only one that's missing is James Paddock in the entire thing. Every other, all homicide, nothing about Paddock.
Paddock's the supposed shooter.
Paddock isn't listed. Yeah, James Paddock was the supposed shooter. Now, they say on the anniversary, 2018, October 1st, the FBI will release their full report. But you contrast that with Hartford, it's been 5 years and we still haven't seen the state police report from Sandy Hook.
And by the way, we did devil's advocate. Nobody died at Sandy Hook, everybody died at Sandy Hook. It wasn't that we were weak on Sandy Hook and, ooh, they got us and now I'm scared, so they attack us on that. The fact that I was trying to be a journalist, looking at all the angles, playing devil's advocates, having debates with people that believed it totally happened like they said, or they said it didn't happen like they said. They used the fact that we were being honest about not knowing to make it look like we were weak, just like Pizzagate. You've got the Podestas with all the sick pedophile art, everything that's undeniable, the WikiLeaks, I mean, the spirit cooking, the Aleister Crowley stuff. I mean, it's all there. They didn't want to cover that. I saw us covering stuff that I thought was a distraction for the meat and potatoes, so I said, pull that. Not because they'd even attacked me yet, but because I thought it wasn't the hardcore info. The globalists took it as weakness. Oh, look, he pulled stuff that wasn't 100% accurate, even though he was reporting on somebody else. Let's go after him. And now I realize they took me being good as weakness.
Right, exactly.
And so now I realize I've got to go full bore. We're getting ready to.
But
we're getting ready to go after the whole thing. Get ready. I've made the decision. We're going deep into all that.
Here's the thing. With all these mass shootings, when the police report comes out, you learn things from it. And other police departments look at what happened. So after Columbine, they sent out the report, and now police don't wait. They go in to stop the shooter. They don't just sit back. When the Virginia Tech shooting happened, now they have a text system that goes campus-wide. So every other one is public and studied. They learn
why is this one so secret?
Exactly.
The school was closed the year before.
Right.
It had dirt and mold everywhere. The kids are going in circles in and out of the buildings with their hands up. And they said there wasn't a guy caught in the woods, and there was, and no emergency vehicles came, and no helicopters, but they had porta potties and sandwiches being delivered within 2 hours.
Yeah.
See, that doesn't just get...
Why are we allowed to learn?
They don't deliver porta potties in 2 hours. And that's why Halbig gets so pissed, as a former top school security consultant, is that all the defaults were turned off. Then I tell Halbig, I don't know if you're right. He goes, oh my God, you may be one of them. He's the other extreme. Then I say, I don't know, but I play devil's advocate. Yeah. And then they act like I'm weak because, it's always Sandy Hook denier.
Well, Halbig was about to depose one of the people who was trying to sue him. And I'm not even going to say the guy's name, but they dropped the case. They dropped the lawsuit when that happened, when the deposition started.
Yeah, that's what I've been advised that, not on this, but another subject. I'm going to have to go all the way.
Yeah. I mean, that's when you call their bluff, and boom, the lawsuit was dropped. And now Halbig's going around saying, I hope so-and-so sues me. I hope so-and-so sues me. It's interesting times. Still, 5 years later, though, still no police.
They didn't send, you've got all these little children's hit.
Yeah.
And Halbig points it out, within a 30-mile radius, you've got 4 different medevac chopper bases.
Right. That could.
I mean, there's a car turns over,
right,
and the cop thinks a helicopter's there.
Yeah.
You know, that's we pay for that in taxes. It's a great thing we have. None are sent.
None whatsoever.
I mean, the default is there's a school shooting, helicopters.
Right.
So, and the media goes, "Oh, you're saying nothing happened. You hate the kids." Here's what I say about Sandy Hook, and of course, Megyn Kelly wouldn't show it. If they lied about hundreds of babies thrown out of incubators, their brains bashed out in Iraq in 1990 with Saddam's invasion of Kuwait, and then it turned out it was a PR firm. It was the daughter of the PR firm, never been to Kuwait.
Right.
Perfect English, never even been to the Middle East, but her father was Islamic. If you heard that, and then now there's a new case, if you question and say, is this like the incubators?
Right.
Well, then later you find out, okay, this case really happened. You weren't saying whoever was a victim of their families was full of crap. You were saying we've been lied to so much that we have a right to say, is this like the babies in the incubators?
Yep.
But they just use that to say, you don't care about the kids.
You're bad.
You don't care about people that were shot. You don't care about the whatever. And you're like, no. I got first criticized by, because we're usually ahead of the curve. You were here when Sandy Hook happened.
Mm-hmm.
Listeners were pissed when we were saying that it might have happened.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, no, look at this, look at that. A couple months in, we go, yeah, that is crazy. And you had blue screens with Anderson Cooper's nose disappearing. And CNN's famous for fake.
I think that was about
locations.
the time when we started thinking things were weird, when the Anderson Cooper disappearing nose happened.
And Nancy Grace.
And the dad laughing before, coming out and he's
and then doing the film thing where you hyperventilate.
Yeah.
It's a classic process.
Yeah.
We're not saying he did that. He was just doing a classic process. And then you've got Nancy Grace in a cul-de-sac, and you're watching a 10-minute interview, and the same cars are going in circles.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy hell, she's not interviewing the...
Well, they pretend she's in a satellite feed with some other reporter, and they're in the same parking lot.
That's it.
That's what it was. And you see the bus driving by. You see it past Nancy's, and then
Same
past the other one.
So we're just like, CNN's faking the interviews.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just Cooper's nose. Remember, they had all the flowers out front. In one shot, you can tell blue screen because the plants are like this, and they go.
Yeah.
They're not congruent like blowing. Yeah. They're like, you're like, whoa, that just cut. Plants go from here to here.
And then you got
because earlier the wind's blowing hard, and then earlier they're still all of a sudden, like and you just know as a video editor, as somebody that does this, like, well, that's fake.
Yeah. Well, then you have the local paper quoting the principal who was supposedly killed on the day of the shooting. They quote her in the article, and then they issue a retraction a day later. But it's still like, how did the local person not know who the principal was?
Well, exactly. It's like Kennedy. They published, because they got their time zone screwed up, in Malaysia and other areas, that Lee Harvey Oswald had been caught like 20 minutes after the shooting. They didn't catch him for hours and hours later.
Right.
His name wasn't announced for hours. It's a fact that they had that patsy name, had it ready. Somebody got time zones wrong at a newspaper, operatives that were ready to put it out.
Right.
They bet the CIA did that in Operation Mockingbird. And so just like on 9/11, an hour and 5 minutes before, Aaron Brown announces Building 7, Solomon Brothers, has fallen into its own footprint.
And it's right behind her.
How many stories was it?
It's 57.
Yeah, 57 stories. So west of Mississippi was the biggest building in the country at that time. So it falls, and then BBC World, and the other BBC, both the 3 channels. 25 minutes later, the 2 other BBCs report it's fallen its own footprint, and you've got the BBC Jane Stanley. Yeah. She's in front of it. She's going, it's fallen in its own footprint, because they're getting the official story from the demolition ready.
Yeah.
Then we get the emergency manager, deputy head of New York on, Barry Jennings, said it's going to fall. We were in there. They're going to blow it up.
He was walking over dead bodies.
He dies 1 week after he's on my show.
Yeah.
But neighbors said there were trucks there, everything. They thought they saw Jennings get in a car. They witnessed relocation to cover it up. So we don't know the answers. We just know we've been lied to. Because I remember that day on 9/11, I drove to get a pizza because I'd been on air from like 9 a.m. in the morning, and there was a pizza place literally a half mile away, Mr. Gaddy's, and I'd been on air all these other shows, and I said, I want a pizza. I'd forgotten to eat. So I drive, I get a pepperoni, mild sausage pizza. God, that sounds good. And I drive, and I'm listening to CBS Radio. That's where 590 switched to Fox Radio. And they go, the Solomon Brothers, known as Building 7, has fallen in its own footprint. And That's at like 4 o'clock. It fell at 5:25 Eastern. It actually fell 25 minutes later.
Right.
Because I go on air and I announce, hey, another building fell. And the producers popping in my ear from the network that was in Minnesota then going, we're watching like Fox here. There's no other building fell. And I go, no, I'm on. And callers are going, they're all watching. Because there's no building fell. Jones, you're making it up again. Like when they said on Y2K, the Russians have fired an ICBM. I'm out there during a 3-minute break watching ABC News, eating a sandwich or something. I used to have my studio in my house then.
Yeah.
And they announced an ICBM is launched. I run in and say an ICBM's been launched. That got shut down.
Yeah.
Fired out of Kosovo. It did get shot down. And later it was a footnote. They admitted it happened. But again, my listeners thought I made it up because they didn't see that.
Right. The lie got covered up before it got too widespread.
I remember other talk show hosts on GCM when that happened going, even Ted Anderson called me and he said, people are saying you made up this Building 7 thing and that didn't happen. And I even had other talk show hosts like say, Jones made this up. And then years later, as archive space got bigger, they released, I think it was like 4 years later, they released online like CNN, ABC. They didn't think.
Right.
They released the whole day.
Yeah.
And then there it was.
There it is.
And there was BBC that I hadn't even seen. I was in the car getting a pizza.
Yeah.
But somebody got, and then later it turned out it was Reuters. And later ABC and CBS and CNN and BBC had to admit they got a Reuters thing that Building 7 had fallen in its own footprint, pancaked, because they got that story out beforehand, just like they announced, before Oswald's name was even known, hours before, that Oswald was the shooter.
Yeah. It's.
Well, go ahead. I'm ranting. Go ahead.
Well, they go with the talking points, and they get the talking points set up. That's why you're seeing with the Democrats, they have no answer to what's going on because Trump is not on script. And they have to be on script.
That's it.
That's why you see the attacks. They're all.
He's not following a script, and they don't know what to do because he's always off script, just like we are.
And you played the video.
Like exactly. There's no teleprompter. There's no script, so they can't organize something to battle that. That's key. Well, we need to make promos explaining that.
Right.
Like when you go off script as listeners, as activists, that's what they can't stop.
Exactly. It's like you played the video. I played it too on the War Room. It's Jim Johnson on CNN, and the guy just wants to talk about him talking to the White House. That's all that matters. Not any of the evidence, not the text messages, not anything that's bona fide. He wants to talk about, are you getting your talking points from the White House? He's like, no, I'm looking at the evidence. I'm asking my own questions. I don't need to talk to the White House.
We have them in the damn emails colluding to make it up.
Exactly. And he keeps saying, they kept talking about an insurance policy. He's like, wait, don't, we'll get to that. That little simpering voice that these guys, and they have to stay on their script because the talking point said, talk about the collusion between the White House and you. You go to the White House, you collude. When it has nothing to do with that. It has not. He goes to the White House to say, hey, guess what? We got him on this, this, and this.
And I want to say something Matt Drudge has said publicly, something he's told me personally. You're not as important as the New York Times. You're more important because you know you're not a bad person. You know you're out to tell the truth. You're objectively looking for truth. You don't have bad will. Same thing with us. We're more important, not just as important. So don't just believe us as you do. As you know. Go out and do your own research. Start your own YouTube, your own Facebook, your own website, your own streams. Who knows what will start the next Facebook or Twitter.
Right.
But we're under major attack. And we're not bitching while this is happening. We're just simply pointing out, you know what, I think this is important. I think on the eve of Christmas Eve with these Islamic attacks and everything else, I just love it here. Not having it so bright, so we're really here talking to each other.
Yeah.
This will all be in HD soon and a little bit fancier.
I just want to say this before we move on. The guy who shot the video of Hillary collapsing on 9/11, not this past.
He won the election.
He did, but that was just a normal dude, and he was a Democrat. It doesn't matter what your party.
But he knew truth.
He knew, yes, and he knew this was a news story. He goes, people are going to want to see this. Boom, the version we put up's got 1 million views. People want to see that stuff.
More than that.
Oh, it's got more than that now. But when we put it up, and one day it got 1 million views. Since then, it's gotten a lot more. But that's what it's one person with a camera.
And by the way,
can change the world.
What you just said is so critical. Remember, for 2 days they blocked our videos and froze them.
Yep.
But then they realized there were so many other thousands of copies. Remember, CNN, MSNBC, we got to go back to their greatest lies, like the media's 100 greatest lies, because it's like Tucker did. It's that hammering. Yeah. We should do things like that. As I've said, it's that. I remember telling Joe Rogan
to beat the drum.
I remember telling Joe Rogan 7, 8 years ago when he first started his podcast for about a year. I said, do it repetitiously, keep doing it. It'll be the biggest thing out there. The dude is so talented, smart, and a funny guy. And it's the same thing. We ourselves have to do our own advice, where we do just like Tucker did, where we say, the 100 big lies of the media. Compile it, come in, do it live, show people. We'll be able to do it in this podcast room where they're in there and they show a clip to you, or we show an article. Where, but we should, like, number one, show CNN, show MSNBC, even Fox. When, well, they claimed Hillary fell down, but really she just stumbled. And they only show her at first. They don't show the full fall down. You show them lie, and then you show the clip.
And you even show them lying about the weather. Oh, it was so hot out there. Everybody was hot. It was like 75 degrees.
Well, exactly. Lie upon lie upon lie upon lie. Well, just like that's why they hate Trump's Twitter and want to get rid of it. They can censor him. They can censor anybody. Is because they go, General Flynn worked with the Russians during the campaign. They knew it was a lie. Trump challenged it, so it collapsed. And then the next day it was another big lie, and Trump kept challenging, and they went, stop it! You're hurting the free press. You're hurting democracy. You're hurting, stop it. They're like, Trump attacks the press. Yeah, he attacks people posing as the press that are liars. I don't fear people putting stuff out on me. When people put stuff out occasionally and prove I'm wrong, I go, God, I don't know how I got that wrong. I thank you. You make me better.
That's what we need. We put out the stuff that we get from people, because we're basically an aggregator too. People are aggregating to us. It's the people that are sending us stuff.
And we're pissed that we can't aggregate all the incredible stuff you give us.
Oh, yeah.
We're like sitting here with
a lot on the ground. There's a lot of stuff.
And people take it for like, I sent you that incredible thing. You didn't do anything. I know, we're trying. No. I mean, we've got like, 8, 9 video editors now, 4 or 5 researchers, a bunch of writers, like 10, but it's like, it's freaking crazy, man. I mean, we're trying.
There's so much going on.
We know we don't do the best job. I apologize.
But I think we're better than most people out there.
No, we're swinging for the fences. We hit. It's like a ball gun, though, in baseball training, and it's shooting a ball every second, man.
Right. You got to keep hitting.
I can only focus and get the best ball I see I can get. Yeah. I'm going to miss 4 or 5 for every one I crack.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But listen. When you're frustrated with us, we're frustrated with us. Our biggest problem is we do care so much. Believe me. We believe me, we want to win. We're with you. And you're sitting back watching and kind of going, wait, they missed that. Exactly. Call C-SPAN, start your own show, do a newsletter. Do you understand that? We want competition. It's like Cuomo on CNN goes, if you look at WikiLeaks, you'll go to jail. Yeah. You're not allowed to look at these. We'll look at these for you. No, the opposite. We have listeners out of the hundreds of thousands of WikiLeaks that are still finding gold every day. Yeah. And I've told the crew, I said, go to the email. We should create like WikiLeaks at Infowars.com just off our audience that sends us, hey, a screenshot, you didn't cover this. Mm-hmm. We should have a whole writer, or if we had the money, 5 writers that just look at that or other WikiLeaks that come out. Because it's like we just go, oh, more devil worship, more pedophilia, more sellouts from Chinese. You know, okay, whatever. We already know this. Yeah. And we just kind of move on.
But then it's tying those to other events that have happened. Tying the email to the event. That's where the connection goes. And you're like, oh, that makes sense. This has happened 2 days before, and then this happened. And this happened 3 days before, and then this happened. And you just build the case.
Are you up for it? I want to go print. Can order some pizzas or something for your son that's here. It's 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
You're supposed to go home.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it.
I said we print the 100 Tucker Carlson emails.
Yeah.
And if you can't, we just put them up on screen on everyone. Just kind of show them.
Yeah.
And I think we should, cut this live feed out and come back and say Tucker Carlson's, whatever his thing. Because again, we're not even taking what Carlson did. It's celebrating what he did. It's magnifying the good idea to hammer them.
Right.
And that's what we do. You'll notice I always put off a bunch of articles.
Yeah.
It's not just one instance of Facebook working with foreign governments to arrest people. Yeah. We go boom, 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 boom. Well, Carlson's going boom, 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 boom. I'm just boom, 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 boom. We're at like a 50 now. Boom, 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 boom. How they're scum, how they're filth. I mean, we just got to hammer them to hell and never give up.
I think what we could do is I'll hook this up to a laptop and we can scroll through them and look at them, and then I can control the laptop easier because this is hard to control right now.
And I think we should just God, 100 of them, 30 seconds each.
Yeah. And I can pull up the article. We can have the article right next to it. Just keep going.
That'll take about 10 hours.
It won't take too long. I'll keep you on track.
All right, we're going to get set up. It's just 3 of us here. Jason doing a great job. And God, all I had was breakfast, but I'm good. Let's just rampage through this.
Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, it'll be fine.
You sure your wife's going to be all right with that?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to end this transmission, Infowars.com/show. We regularly have feeds. This is Facebook and YouTube. But this is archive, spread it. But the next 30 minutes, we're going to go live, and we're here, you're here. If all of you share it on Facebook and Twitter, if all of you email people and say, hey, or call, hey, this is important. They're going over, the 100 lies where they call America and God and freedom
everything
and families and mothers. They're defining all of reality racist so that they control reality in semantics. This is key.
Right.
And I'm going to start doing these, because that's the name of the show, the 100 times they. Because I think, I was telling you, I want to do a hammer them. Instead of the top 10, let's do the top 100.
Top 100.
We'll do it all. Follow us on Twitter at Real Alex Jones. How do they follow you? Till the 28th, they say they're banning everybody. We'll see if they still have the nerve, because we're about to do antitrust suits, and Trump's fighting back. God dog it.
Yeah, I'm at Dews News, DEWSNEWZ.
You got a lot of followers there.
Yeah, 60,000.
We never even got on there early, because it was more of a liberal playground. I saw that right away to shame us and attack us. But we as patriots, we understand it's bots and fake stuff. We're not here to get dopamine and rewarded.
Hey, I only want real people following.
We're not putting out just a bunch of fake self-help quotes.
I'm not buying followers. I just want real people follow me. I want to engage with real people. I want to spread information with real people. It's great. You didn't hear about this. They found a mastodon. I don't know what state it was in, but they found a mastodon that's had its bones hacked up and stuff. They say it's 100,000 years old, which throws everything on its head.
I want to cover that, because it says that Mesoamerica started. They say the Bering Strait was 20,000.
Right, and they're saying that's when people came over 20,000 years ago. No, now they're saying, well, this turn, and so they're fighting this guy. They're like, no, you can't come out with this, because history, all these things have dogmas. News has a dogma.
That's why they've carbon dated stuff in South America that's 30,000 inhuman settlements.
We've been around for a long time.
And we've been hit by big asteroids.
Stuff gets covered up.
That's what
there's floods.
Atlantis, Plato, everything he wrote about was real.
Yeah.
Hardcore science, mathematics, you name it. And he said, no, over 10,000 years ago, there was a giant high-tech city in the Atlantic, because they knew the Mediterranean opened up. They called it, that was the Atlantis, was Athena.
Yeah.
And so out there, and he said they had flying machines and energy that came from this giant white light furnaces they had, and it blew up.
Yeah.
And they said pieces of it fell in Greece 1,000 miles away. So how did he come up with that?
Yeah.
I mean, you got flying machines and a big high-tech city, and then it blows up.
Well, and you look at the hieroglyphics. There's flying machines in there. I mean, there's all...
There are in the Egyptian walls.
Yeah.
Perfect Apache helicopters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Apache helicopter.
Yeah.
So what is that?
I don't know.
Did humans think of the same design? Because, we've designed everything off animals. They've been top engineers. The
dragonflies.
Like the wing of a plane, everything they get from nature.
Yeah.
In fact, engineers have learned, going back 100 years ago, they can't ever make anything work until they copy nature.
Well, that's what Da Vinci did. Da Vinci was all into drawing out the plans of how a bird flew and flapped his wings. So he would design stuff on how the bird flapped his wings. Didn't always work, but he had the right idea.
But people wrote at the time some of it did work. There just wasn't cameras to prove it.
Right. Oh, some of the machines... Da Vinci was the first military-industrial complex. This guy developed all kind of stuff. There's a Da Vinci museum in Italy that I went to.
Weapons.
There. All the stuff. I mean, weapons, but also the corkscrew, how to get water uphill. All kind of stuff that
he theorized helicopters.
Yeah. He theorized all of it. He actually built a helicopter that you pedaled.
He created artillery balloons.
Yeah.
To send a balloon up to direct artillery.
He built tanks. I mean, he was building stuff way before anybody else was doing it. And, that's a guy who's smart and intelligent and a thinker, and he's kind of left to do his own thing. And then people come along, can you do this? Can you do this? And it starts turning the wheels, and I'll take this, and cobbles it together. Total genius.
Well, he also said he didn't want to build weapons, but that's how he could only make money.
That's how he made money to do his art. Isn't that funny? he was making weapons so he could fund his art.
Well, that was back when Italy was a bunch of city-states fighting with each other.
Right.
That was old Machiavelli time.
Yeah.
All right, let's end this transmission. Look out for more Islamic terror attacks, and look out for the media to try to cover those up. Coming up here out of the new podcast studio, that again, we'll have HD cameras and better audio and everything. I want you to get a first look at this baby, because this is the old original studio 10 years ago when I moved to this studio.
He used to sit right here, actually, in this spot, and maybe about right here, because we had the big desk that went over this way, and the TVs were behind you, and this is where you would paddle. When we pulled the carpet up, there was a big ring right here where you had worn out the carpet, the old carpet. But this is where he sat with that desk and all the TVs and stuff. And now we're going to one TV. We're simplifying because we've got plenty of studios with TVs in them. This is going to be where people start talking about ideas, commercial-free, uninterrupted. But to do that, we need your support. So go to InfoWarsStore.com and check out. We got the Christmas deals that we started back up again from the 34-hour Christmas special. A lot of them 50% off and a lot of them free shipping. So go there now, check it out, and we'll be back. We're going to get the Tucker Carlson tweets ready to go, the 100 tweets where everything is racist. So here it is, and we'll be right back after a short break.
Infowars.com/show, but that's not on those streams right now. Again, please spread the links to these archive videos because, again, they're trying to shut us down. They're trying to shut you down. If they can shut us down, they can shut you down. I know you know that, but we're winning. We're turning the tide. Prosperity's coming back. Trump's delivering. He's not doing good on vaccines. I don't like this Ukraine escalation, but he means well. That's why the globalists hate him. Okay.
I think one thing about vaccines in early January, there's going to be a report that comes out where the government lists all the money they had to pay out in vaccine damages from the previous year. And
who was the mainstream media? CNN or so? It was a bunch of people said no vaccine damages have been paid out.
Yeah, that's Adam Schiff. He wants to put a resolution.
The congressman was on CNN saying there's never been money paid out for vaccines, even though it's $3+ billion.
$61 million last year in just flu shot damages. Just flu shot damages, $61 million.
And then he lies, just like he says I'm a Russian agent.
Right. So when that comes out, and Jones, here's the thing: that report goes right to Mike Pence's desk. That's the time to strike. He gets that report, and then we start hammering.
Trump said he would appoint Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
He did good in that point. He always delivers. It just takes longer. So we'll see if he ends up doing a sneak attack on him.
Hey, we got tax cuts this year. I didn't think he'd do it, honestly. I said,
no, they were blocking him.
They were going.
All right, we're gonna. Hey, God bless you all. Merry Christmas. We appreciate you all. We love you. We'll be back as soon as we get this ready. Thanks, Rob, and thanks, Jason. Let's get this done as we get home to our families.
All right.
We'll be back in a minute. Stay with us. Yeah, it's awesome.
I'll just get.